Hello, I'm back for part two of my visit to Skidmore, Missouri. And this time I'm going to talk about the 2001 mysterious disappearance of 20-year-old Skidmore resident Branson Perry and the 2004 brutal murder of Perry's cousin, 23-year-old Bobbie Jo Stinnett. Unfortunately, my GPS wasn't working while I was here, and it's quite common when visiting this area, so I won't be able to show you the locations live, but I will provide Google Map and Google Earth images, plus images I pulled from the internet, which shows the victims' houses as they appeared when the crime took place. As I mentioned earlier, Skidmore is a really small town, and these two locations are a short 3-minute walk from each other. Let's begin by going to the former home of Branson Perry. His address is 304 West Oak Street, and today the house looks pretty much the same as it did in 2001 when Branson disappeared, except now it has a bigger two-car garage instead of the shed that was once there. Branson Perry was born on February 24, 1981, and was raised here in Skidmore and had a normal childhood. In his teens, Branson enjoyed activities like karate and lifting weights and was active even though he suffered a heart condition. After graduating high school in 1999, instead of going to college, he started working menial jobs such as a roofer and as an animal handler at a local petting zoo. At this time, his parents divorced and he was living with his dad, Bob Perry, at this house. His mom moved away to another town with his other siblings. On a Wednesday, April 11, 2001, Branson and his friend Jenna Crawford were in the house cleaning it as a surprise for Branson's dad, Bob, who was in the hospital for an undisclosed illness. Bob was expected to be back from the hospital on Friday, and Branson had plenty of time to get the house clean. At the same time, two mechanics were also there to fix Bob's car that was parked near the shed. They were to replace a faulty alternator. It is not publicly known who hired these men or what their names are, but they were there on that day, but mostly outside. They started cleaning the house in the morning, and things started to get weird as the day progressed, and it was witnessed by Branson's friend Jenna. As they were cleaning the house, Jenna noticed Branson from out of nowhere started frantically rummaging throughout the kitchen cabinets, apparently looking for something. When he found it, he hid it from Jenna and quickly went outside. What the hell was that all about, Jenna thought, and when Branson came back in, she asked him what he was looking for and why he went outside so fast. He just told her not to worry about it. Anyway, Jenna dismissed it and continued cleaning the house. And after they were done, she caught one of the mechanics looking for something in the kitchen. Jenna asked, "What are you looking for?" This startled the mechanic, and he said, "Oh, nothing," and quickly went outside. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Jenna was resting from cleaning when she noticed Branson walking outside. She asked where he was going. Branson told her he was just going to put the jumper cables back in the shed and run out for a little bit, and then he would come back. Jenna waited for Branson's return, and soon the mechanics left as well and didn't say anything to Jenna. After waiting for an hour, Jenna left as well. She didn't want to wait for him any longer. She had things to do. Branson Perry never came back home. Jenna was the last person to see him alive. He simply vanished into thin air. Just like Ken McElroy, no one saw a thing. Not Jenna, the two mechanics, or the neighbors that were out that day to what happened to Branson Perry. Lots of questions, speculations, but no answers. So let's dive into it. On Thursday, April 12th, Branson's grandmother, Joanne Stinnett, went to the house to check on Branson, and she found the house unlocked and the radio was playing. I guess Jenna just left without locking the doors. She called for Branson, but no one answered. Joanne called Bob from the hospital and said that Branson hadn't talked to him since Wednesday. Branson's mother, Rebecca Kleno, also hadn't heard from her son as well. This was unusual for Branson to stop communicating with his family. Bob was finally released from the hospital on April 17th, and the family finally contacted police and reported Branson missing. 6 full days after Jana saw him walk outside the house into oblivion. A search party was organized, and the police searched within a 15-mile radius of the home, going through farms, wells, fields, and abandoned buildings, and found nothing. The police talked to neighbors, Jenna and the 2 unnamed mechanics, and nobody saw him around Skidmore after he walked out. I can't believe even the mechanics didn't see Branson go in the shed or talk to anyone while they were outside all that time. I forgot to mention that Perry's van was still parked outside the house, and his wallet and keys were still inside the house. Either Branson Perry was greeted by someone he knew and freely got into a vehicle for some unknown reason, or he was jumped, knocked unconscious, and abducted, never to return. Perry was a martial art expert and knew how to defend himself, so there would have been a scuffle outside the house that would have gotten some attention from someone if he was abducted. He also could have chosen to leave his life behind and start a new life elsewhere and just walk quietly without notice. We just don't know. Oh, about the jumper cables. The police searched for them around the property but couldn't be found. 2 weeks later, they magically appeared back in the shed. How about we look into Branson's past that could shed some answers to this ever-growing mystery? Relatives and friends admitted to police that Perry was experimenting with drugs, especially marijuana, speed, and LSD. And it's possible he was dealing drugs as well, but there is no substantial proof of this. And on April 7th, 4 days before he vanished, Perry visited his neighbor Jason Bierman, and he supposedly gave him a drug. It could have been ecstasy, and he tripped out and started dancing and acting weird. He shaved off his pubic hair in front of his neighbor, and soon the two had consensual sex. And it gets even weirder. In 2013, Jack Wayne Rogers was arrested for assault, fraud, and child pornography that had nothing to do with this case. But get this, while authorities were investigating him, they found a post that he wrote online that documented the 59-year-old minister and Boy Scout leader of picking up a young blonde hitchhiker and then torturing, raping, and killing and dumping his body in the Ozarks. But Rogers, who is serving a 30-year sentence, claims that he made up the story as a sexual fantasy and that he never ever met Perry. So what really happened? Did he just walk away from his life, never to be seen again? Was he running from a dangerous crowd that wanted him dead? Was he a drug dealer that got caught up with bad company and killed? Was he abducted by a serial killer? Why hasn't there been a clue, sighting, or remains that were found that can ID him? Unless they find his remains, we may never know. He still could be alive. What do you think? Now, the last story will be a sickening one. It involves the murder and mutilation of a young pregnant woman by the name of Bobbie Jo Stinnett. So let's head out to where she lived here in Skidmore. The address is 410 West Elm Street. I'm sorry that I can't provide a clear picture, but here are some online photos that shows you what it looks like. As you know, Bobbie Jo Stinnett is Branson Perry's younger cousin. Stinnett and her husband Zeb ran a successful dog breeding business in the home called Happy Heaven Farms, and he bred rat terriers. Stinnett met her murderer on a chat line called Ratter Chatter, and at that time she was 8 months pregnant. Kansas resident Lisa Marie Montgomery, then aged 36, is Stinnett's killer. Lisa posed as a prospective buyer of rat terriers online to Stinnett and met her a few times under a fake name, Darlene Fisher. On one get-together, Montgomery noticed that Stinnett was pregnant, and Lisa told Stinnett that she was pregnant as well, but she was lying. Montgomery has a history of mental problems caused by having an abusive childhood. She has 4 kids from a previous marriage, and she had her tubes tied in 1990. She became obsessed with having another baby and convinced everyone, including her second husband, that she was pregnant. On December 16, 2004, Stinnett agreed to meet Montgomery here at her home with the intent of adopting a rat terrier. Montgomery drove 175 miles north to Skidmore from her home in Melbourne, Kansas. She arrived at her house at an undisclosed time, and please note that Bobbie Jo's husband Zeb was not home at the time. The two chatted a bit about the dog and the pregnancy, but when Bobbie Jo turned her back on Montgomery, she took out a rope and placed it around her neck and strangled her to death. I can't imagine what went through Bobbie Jo's mind when this woman she trusted was now killing her. Bobbie Jo collapsed to the floor, seemingly dead, and Lisa proceeded to slice Bobbie Jo's stomach with a kitchen knife. But she wasn't fully dead, and she started to wake up from her stupor and fight off Lisa, and she strangled her again until she couldn't breathe anymore. She made sure of it. Lisa continued to slice Bobbie's stomach, and it was a messy scene, as you can imagine, and finally took the baby out of her stomach. She cleaned the newly born baby girl and herself, but left Bobbie Jo on the floor in a bloody mess, looking like her stomach exploded. She took off and drove 3 hours back to her town and told her husband that she went into labor while out shopping in Topeka. Went to the hospital and delivered the baby in less than 6 hours. The husband believed her and accepted the baby as theirs. An hour after the murder, Bobbie Jo's mother, Becky Harper, found her daughter's lifeless and butchered body in a pool of blood. The police and the paramedics were immediately called, but it was too late, and the paramedics were unable to revive Bobbie Jo because of the extensive throat tissue and organ damage executed by Lisa. It didn't take long for police to trace this murder back to Lisa Montgomery because she left plenty of evidence at the scene, and Bobbie kept good records of who visited her, and she was arrested at her home the next day. Earlier that day, Lisa and her family celebrated the birth of her newly born baby at a restaurant, and she bragged to everyone in town about her baby. After the arrest, Bobbie Jo's healthy baby was given back to her husband Zeb, and he named her Victoria Jo Stinnett. For this gruesome murder, Lisa Montgomery was handed the death penalty. She was executed by a lethal injection on January 13, 2021. She had no last words, not even "I'm sorry." Victoria Jo Stinnett, Bobbie Jo's only child, is now 17 years old and is keeping a low profile, but appears to be doing just fine. This concludes part 2 of my Skidmore visit. Please look for more videos on my channel. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and like. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.